स्टडी IQ IAS, अब तैयारी हुई अफोर्डेबल।
Hello students, welcome to StudyIQ's initiative, the podcast. I am your host Dipansh Moorjani. So tighten your belts because it is time for the podcast of the day. In the last episode, we had discussed some important sessions of our parliament. So all the new listeners out there can listen to our previous episodes not only on YouTube but also on all the audio streaming platforms like Spotify, Hubhopper, Apple Podcast, Kuku FM, etc. In today's episode, we are going to discuss important motions of our parliament. Sir, first things first important motion is substantive motion. So can you give us some brief information about it?
Before coming to substantive motion, I would like to highlight the importance of motions in parliamentary functions. The importance of motion in parliamentary function is like that the member of parliament and the parliamentary functions are happened and taken course due to this different kind of motions, and the parliamentary functions become smooth due to these motions. In this regard, the first motion which we will discuss is substantive motion. Substantive motion is a self-contained independent proposal dealing with a very important matter like impeachment of the president or removal of chief election commissioner. The second important motion, subsidiary motion, is that by itself has no meaning and cannot state the decisions of the House without reference to the original motion or proceedings of the House. The third motion is substitute motion. Substitute motion is moved in substitutions of an original motion and proposes an alternative to the original motion. If the substitute motion is adopted by the House, it will suspend the original motion also.
Sir, next important motion is closer motion. So can you throw some light on it? And we are also curious to understand different types of closer motion.
Closure motion is a motion moved by a member to cut short the debate on matter before the House. If the motion is approved by the House, debate is stopped forthwith and the matter is put to vote directly. There are four types of closure motion. The first is simple closure. Simple closure is one when a member moves that the matter having been sufficiently discussed, now this is time for the vote. This is called simple closure. The next closure is closure by compartments. The clause of a bill or a lengthy resolution are grouped into parts before the commencement of the debate. The debate covers the part as a whole and the entire part is put to vote. The next important closure motion is kangaroo closure. In kangaroo closure, only important clauses are taken up for debate and voting, and the intervening clause are skipped over and taken as passed. The next important closure is guillotine closure. It is one that the undiscussed clauses of a bill or a resolution are also put to vote along with the discussed ones due to want of time.
Sir, next important motion is privilege motion. We as aspirants often get confused while understanding it. So can you explain it to us in simple words?
Privilege motion is concerned with the breach of parliamentary privileges by a minister. Privilege motion is moved by a member when he feels that a minister has committed a breach of privilege of the House or one or more of its members. The motion of privileges can be moved on grounds of withholding facts of a case or by giving wrong or distorted facts to the House. The purpose of privilege motion is to censure the concerned minister. The next motion is calling attention motion. Calling attention motion is introduced in the parliament by a member to call the attention of a minister to a matter of urgent public importance and to seek an authoritative statement from him on that matter. This motion is also an Indian innovation and it has been followed since 1954 and it is also mentioned in the parliamentary procedure. This motion is also an Indian innovation which has been in practice since 1954 and it is one of the best practices in parliamentary procedure. Calling attention motion is also mentioned in rules of procedure.
Sir, now we are interested in understanding adjournment motion and what is the criteria for admissibility of adjournment motion.
Adjournment motion is introduced in the Parliament to draw attention of the House to a definite matter of urgent public importance. This motion needs to support it by 50 members, which is to be admitted. The motion is regarded as an extraordinary device as it interrupts the normal businesses of the House. The motion of adjournment involves an element of censure against the government. However, that is why Rajya Sabha is not permitted to make use of this device because the Council of Ministers is only and only responsible for Lok Sabha. The discussion on an adjournment motion should last for not less than 2 hours and 30 minutes. Now we will discuss what are the criteria for admissibility of adjournment motion. The criteria are that it must deal with matters of urgent public importance, it must be on a specific matter, it should involve the responsibility of the government, and it should not raise the question of privileges, and it should not also discuss any sub judice matter in the House. And this is very important to note that at least 50 Lok Sabha MPs must support the motion.
Next important motion is no confidence motion, and many experts claim it as a bedrock for Indian parliamentary democracy. Sir, what is your opinion about it?
Article 75 states that the Council of Ministers shall be collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. This principle is the bedrock of parliamentary democracy. It means that the ministry stays in office so long as it enjoys confidence of the majority of the members of Lok Sabha. The Lok Sabha can remove the ministry from office by passing a no confidence motion simply. And it can be raised only once in a session. That means in a 1 year, maximum of 3 no confidence motion can introduced. Motion of no confidence is explicitly mentioned in rules of 198 of Lok Sabha. One thing is to be remembered that no confidence motion is always moved against the entire Council of Ministers and not against an individual minister. The no confidence motion needs the support of 50 members, which is to be admitted. The next important motion is confidence motion. The confidence motion has come up with as new procedural device to cope up with the emerging situations of fractured mandates which results in hung parliament, minority governments, coalition governments, and that ultimately leads to the disruption of the functioning of smooth government. That is why the governments formed with a wafer-thin majority have been called upon by the president to prove their majority on the floor of the House. Sometimes government seeks to prove its majority by moving a motion of confidence and winning the confidence of the House at early. If the confidence motion is negative, and there is no wonder when the confidence motion is not passed, it means that it will result in the fall of the government.
Sir, next important motion is motion of thanks. So can you enlighten us about its provisions?
The first session after each general election and the first session of every financial year is addressed by the president. In this address, the president outlines the policies and programs of the government in the coming year and 1 year prior to that. This address of the president is discussed in both the houses of parliament on a motion called the motion of thanks. At the end of the discussion, the motion is put to vote. This motion must be passed in the House. Not passing the motion amounts to the defeat of the government. However, this non-passage of that motion of thanks can be negative in Rajya Sabha, and if Rajya Sabha does not pass this motion of thanks, it does not mean that government will fall, because in recent past also we have seen this example. However, there is a very important necessary that the motion of thanks should be passed by Lok Sabha, and if in case the Lok Sabha failed to pass motion of thanks, that means the government will fall. The inaugural speech of the President is an occasion available to the members of Parliament to raise discussions and debates, to examine and criticize the government and administration for its lapses and failures.
Sir, thank you for giving us the information. Dear listeners, it is time to wrap up this episode of the podcast. In the next episode, we will begin our discussion from no day yet named motion. Till then, stay connected with StudyIQ and keep studying. You can listen to StudyIQ presents the podcast on all the audio streaming platforms like Spotify, Hubhopper, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Kuku FM, etc. Links are pinned in the comment section below. Thank you.